A Look at Finance is underwritten by Janney Montgomery Scott, trusted advisors for generations.
Welcome back. It's Thursday, so guess who this is? Steve Carlton of Janney Montgomery Scott. Favorite day of the week? A look at finance.
A look at finance. Hey, it's spring.
Oh, don't start on me, okay? Hey, chairwoman,
Yes.
or chairperson, Janet Yellen of the Fed gave a speech yesterday that contained so much information that I thought I'd start off tonight by asking you to just sort of break it down for us. Like the stock market reacted a little strange, and what did some of the things she meant?
Yeah.
What did they mean?
Well, you raise an interesting point, Jesse. There was a little bit of confusion. And sometimes when the Fed elaborates too much, it creates more questions. And I think part of what happened with Chairwoman Janet Yellen was that in her attempt to elaborate on what things were going to look like over the next 6 to 9 months, I think some of the clarity that she gave created additional questions. It made the market nervous. And a lot of people said the market sold off because of that uncertainty. And the uncertainty is that interest rates will be rising possibly sooner than people had thought originally, which is not a bad thing. When we think about it, the reason interest rates were suppressed so artificially low was because we were in dire economic circumstances.
Right.
If they're going higher, that means it's time to take the training wheels off the bicycle.
Yeah, right.
The economy's getting healthier, and she's saying, get ready, we can stand on our own.
Now, there's a direct correlation between the money that the Fed put into the system to keep interest rates low and to stimulate the economy. When that money starts to come out, is it automatically assumed that the interest rates then do rise?
Right, so the Federal Reserve directly influences short-term interest rates. And so short-term interest rates affect things like your credit card interest rates,
Right.
your car loan interest rates. The shorter side of things, not necessarily as much as your 30-year traditional mortgage, but it has a trickle-down effect. And so some of what is happening here is the indicator that those short-term interest rates will change. Bigger picture, longer out, I think that that's not going to be as dramatic as people are expecting, because she's not talking about raising interest rates to 5 or 6%, just incrementally, slowly doing it. So I think people need to take a deep breath and say, it's not as bad as people made it out to be.
Right, and I also think, and maybe our viewers feel the same way, that this was always meant to be a temporary fix, the length of which couldn't be determined because they were not exactly certain of the length of the recession or the depth of the recession. But now that this starts to happen, and then I guess the theory is that this will balance out over time.
That's actually a very, very good point. She said, traditionally over the last few years, we've been measuring what to do with quantitative easing, the Fed's actions, by two factors. One was the unemployment rate, which has dropped down below 8, below 7, now to that 6.5% range. And the other thing was inflation. What she's clearly indicating is that there are more elements to the economy that they're now going to be measuring. Financial stability, the markets as a whole.
Right.
And so it's not so singular focused. And I think that creates... this isn't a certainty. This isn't, a plan that's laid out in stone. They have the ability to adapt and adjust as the markets react, and so that's a good thing.
Oh, I'm sure the flexibility is key to making the overall plan short-term and more importantly, long-term work, right?
Yeah, I think that's critical.
Okay.
And the evidence is, look what the U.S. dollar did today. The
Right.
U.S. dollar strengthened. Oil prices dropped. There's some indicators here that there's lots of elements of the economy and the markets that want interest rates to go higher. Think about all our viewers that are retirees.
Right.
To see interest rates go higher, this is good news for them. They've been struggling with having CD rates that were ridiculously low, money markets that weren't paying anything. As interest rates rise, a lot of our watchers, a lot of our viewers will benefit from it.
Sure, the return on those investments are better for them then.
Absolutely,
right? Sure.
that's their income.
Well, if you don't mind, in the weeks to come, I'm going to constantly ask you about this because I always need a refresher course myself.
Very good, yes.
It's challenging in a way, but boy, is it interesting to follow.
Absolutely.
And of course, it has a direct effect on us and our economy. Well, speaking of the economy, let's talk about our local economy.
Okay, yeah.
Gaming. In New York State, where these casinos are going to go.
Yeah.
Now, this situation, as of the last 2 weeks especially, is now becoming much more interesting, challenging, complicated. I was reading today that Howe Caverns is now going to submit an application to have the casino put there. And as we know, Howe Caverns is pretty much in our backyard.
Yeah.
And then I also heard that Saratoga Casino and Raceway is considering an application on their own.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, this is, think about the effect that that has on us.
This is huge revenue for the state. It's a very, very significant thing. It's like we've talked about this in the past, very contentious, but this isn't just an up-down vote whether Saratoga wants. There's a lot of players involved in Schenectady and around the area. And so even though some players may be bowing out or showing less interest than others, Howe Cavern, a great example, 330 acres, the ability to do something like that. Schenectady's got all sorts of opportunities that they could, but the casino and raceway, they've got a hotel going in right now.
Right.
It's going to open in 2015. They would very, very much like to have that in this area. And you think about how important it is for them. If you put a competing casino within a driving distance of where they are, that will really negatively affect them business-wise. And so this is very, very important to a lot of people in the area.
Well, one of our banking clients said to me, this casino's coming.
Yeah.
Better, I mean, it's their opinion.
Yes.
But better that it come to Saratoga than even go down the road to Schenectady, and, it's a very complicated issue, and boy, people feel passionate about it. We interviewed this morning a representative from Destination Saratoga on our program Beyond the Headlines. And it's fascinating. These people are very articulate on both sides of the issue in explaining why they believe and what they feel the benefits are to the community.
Yeah.
I guess our overriding hope would be that Saratoga benefits from it.
Well, it's funny. You talk about how many people are talking about this. The other day I was in Uncommon Grounds, and the people beside me were talking about the casino. And then I went later that afternoon to Max London's, the restaurant. And when you know it, right next to me is another couple, and they're talking about it and discussing it. So it's something that it's such a big, influential thing that could affect the city and our area. That it's going to play out over the next few months, and it's critical.
And if we're talking about money, I've got another segue.
Right? Yes.
To those of you who don't know, both Steve and I are car nuts.
Oh my goodness.
Okay,
yeah,
so Governor
absolutely,
Cuomo announced something today that we really like.
Ferrari.
Yes.
Ferrari. We love cars, and Ferrari is one of those brands that if you're a car guy, you just can't help but look at it and love it. And the lines on those cars are beautiful. So Cuomo announced today, Watkins Glen going to do the Ferrari Challenge. Wow, that is going to be fantastic, fun to watch. There isn't a car person out there that's not going to say, boy, I'd like to check that out. So that's a really fun thing coming, and it's coming out in September.
Well, it takes all kinds, but this summer in the heart of a blizzard, I saw the only four-wheel drive Ferrari they make, which is $400,000. You want to talk finance? Was right here on Caroline Street.
It's incredible.
And I thought, what are they doing driving this thing in the winter? Well, it was all-wheel drive.
Yeah, well, Jesse convinced me you could drive a Porsche in winter, so I mean, you should be able to do a Ferrari, right? I mean, get the winter tires on it and you're fine.
So, happy spring to you.
It's happy spring, and one of the things I read today,
What'd you read?
United Nations declared International Happy Day. So if you're not happy today, according to the United Nations, you should be happy. So be happy.
I'm in the media world. Media people don't get happy.
Well, you have to. It's the United Nations. I mean, you really don't want to cross them.
All right, then let's do that. Let's make a resolve to be optimistic about the economy.
First day of spring.
On a national level, on a local level, and look forward to going to the Ferrari Challenge.
Looking forward to it, Jesse.
Oh, that sounds
Always
great.
a pleasure.
Hey,
Thanks.
to see this interview again, you can head to our website, looktvonline.com.